Lori here from Ecamm Network, makers of Ecamm Live. For those of you who are new to Ecamm, Ecamm Live is an all-in-one live streaming platform for Mac users. We have a 14-day trial available on our website at ecamm.com, and we encourage you to check it out and explore all its awesome features. So this is our Meet the Pros series, so welcome. In this series, we interview live streamers and creators like yourselves and discuss all the best tips and tricks to making the best live video content. If you've been using Ecamm Live for a while and would like to be part of the series and be interviewed, please let us know and send us a message. Today in our Meet the Pros series, we are interviewing Alex and Danielle, who are co-hosts of Politek, a live broadcast which discusses current events and technology. We're really excited to be talking to them. They're wonderful people. I've already had a chance to chat with them a little bit. I did want to just say that we did end up spelling Alex's last name incorrectly, and I do apologize for that. It's actually MacDonald, M-A-C, not M-C, so I didn't have a chance to change that up, but he was really gracious about it. So Alex is in Atlanta and Danielle is in Minnesota, and we have both of them here with us on Skype. So let's get started. Hi there.
Well, hi.
Hey, Midori.
Thank you for having us on. And I don't mind. I'll be a Mick for a day rather than a Mac. It's no problem whatsoever.
Okay.
Trust me, you're not the first person to do that, and you will not be the last.
Well, we really appreciate that so much.
Yeah. No worries whatsoever. Yeah, we're just glad to be on. Thank you very much. It's feels like kind of an honor because we don't consider ourselves pros whatsoever. And if anyone's seen our show, they'll know why. We do it because we enjoy it. You know, we like to get on camera and talk. Our friends happen to tune in. We have no idea why, still to this day. And then you invited us on, and it's great. I'm very pleased to be here.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We're so happy to have you. And Danielle, thank you too. I love your cat headphones. Those are amazing.
Thank you.
Very cool. So why don't you guys start off by telling us a little bit about your show? I know you have a couple of shows, but go ahead and tell us about yourselves and what you do.
We do. We'll talk about the primary show, I guess, Politek, Politek, which is a bi-weekly Facebook Live show. We're live on Monday and Thursdays. Almost messed that up, Danny.
Yeah, you did.
Monday and Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. We talk about, honestly, we talk about whatever takes our fancy. News, current events, technology, could be anything, to be honest with you. And that's effectively the show in a nutshell. You never really know what you're going to get when you tune in.
Right. And we never know. We try to start out with a plan for what we're going to talk about, but then like Alex said, whatever takes our fancy or whatever comes up in the chat. You know, we try to keep up with what our viewers are talking about in the chat and try to talk about what they want to talk about too. So that could go anywhere. Honestly,
it could, which is what makes it exciting. Right. Having live viewers and that immediate interaction with your audience is what makes it fun to us. We love live questions, trying to troubleshoot people's problems on the fly, and that makes it rewarding. Otherwise, it would just be Danny and I talking to each other over Skype.
Right, which we do a lot. We could do that by ourselves.
Well, that's very true.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you want us to get into how the show started, but we kind of fell into it.
Yeah, I really do. I do want to fix one. This is like fixing technical things on the fly, so I do apologize. I do want to fix one technical thing, so people are seeing what happens in live video. Here we go. Sorry about this.
No, it's okay. Do you need us to do anything or just be still?
Nope, you're perfect.
Okay. And our viewers are not strangers to this. We do this all the time. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's why calling us pros. Kind of funny to us.
Hey, I see Cindy. Speaking of our viewers, I see Cindy in the chat. Hey, Cindy.
Yeah. Hey, Cindy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, and Miss Charlotte's here too. Hey, Charlotte.
Well, thank you for letting me take a moment. Basically, I had made an error, and it is now fixed, and we can all be seen at the same time, which is perfect. So,
fantastic.
Yeah. Hi, Cindy. We're so glad to have you. Yeah. So please let us know how you got into live streaming and how you got into all this stuff. We'd love to hear that.
So I sort of fell into it with these folks, justforfunradio.com. They're an internet radio station, streaming station, and they were running a show called Guns and Gadgets. Now, I'm a competitive shooter, and I love me some gadgets. So I started sitting in on one of their shows just as a sidekick, so to speak. And the gentleman that was hosting the show, he decided to leave. And Scotty, who owns the station, said, well, do you want to take up for him? And stupidly, I said, sure, absolutely. I'm all for this. I've never hosted a show in my life. So I started to host Guns and Gadgets. And it's difficult. Hosting a show by yourself is tough. This was going out over an app, effectively a radio station app. And my friend.
And it was long. It was 2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hour show. So my friends would start to call in because they knew I was struggling. Danielle was one of the callers, and she'd call in. It morphed into Danny being on the phone for the entire show. So I said, there's a better way to do this. We started to look at video. And at the time, we were on YouTube and using Google Hangouts. So Danny would come in, then we could interact with each other face to face rather than just on the phone. It freed up the line for other callers, and it just kind of morphed from there.
That was really kind of the thing, is I would hijack the phone line and nobody else could call in, and I would never relinquish the line. So
That's
finally,
right.
Alex is like, okay, we got to do something different so that other people can talk to us.
Yeah, so that's how we got into the live streaming, the video side of it. And then Danny and I decided, we want to break off and do our own show, which became Politek. But the logistics of it with Danielle in Minnesota and myself in Atlanta, it made it difficult. It made it tricky. We were dependent on Skype, really, either Skype or FaceTime. We went with Skype. We were going to stream to YouTube, and it was right about this time that Facebook opened up their API to switching software such as Wirecast. Ecamm Live didn't exist at the time. So we purchased Wirecast and decided we're going to do the show to Facebook, which was 3 years ago this month, by the way, we started.
Wow.
I got a notification.
Congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you. So we were one of the first live shows broadcast from, I say a studio, it's just my office back here, using switching software. And we were using Wirecast. And it was tricky. The majority of our time was taken setting up scenes and making sure the audio worked and trying to get things right, which leaves less time for content. You're spending more time on production than you are actually doing the show. And that's not what we wanted. We want our actual production to be simple, as easy as pie for one person to do. Well, I've been a customer of Ecamm Networks for a long time. Call recorder for Skype, phone view, eyeglasses. And so I got the email notification that they were going to be releasing Ecamm Live. I saw that their integration with Call Recorder for Skype made bringing in Skype guests just seamless and easy. Yeah. And it was honestly a no-brainer for us to make the switch. And honestly, Midori, best switch we ever made. Getting away from I don't mean to diss a competitor, Wirecast, right. But it took our pre-production workflow and cut it at least by a quarter.
In half, yeah.
So much easier. And I can't thank Ken and Glenn enough for creating this software. It allowed us to focus on the show and not worry so much about the behind the scenes. It's been an absolute godsend to us.
Oh, that means so much to us. Thank you.
And Alex does all of that stuff. He does all of the technical stuff. And it seems to me now that we don't have to plan so much ahead. Like, I used to have to tell Alex, okay, I want to bring in this picture and this story and this and that. And he would set it all up ahead of time and be ready to bring it in because if I came up with the story in the middle of the show, he'd be like, I can't, it's not set up. I can't bring it in. Well, now with Ecamm Live, we can do that on the fly, bring stuff in, at the drop of a hat. And it allows us to do that with things that our viewers bring in, which to me is just clutch. Like, being able to actually interact with our viewers and talk about things that are important to them. So often when I'm talking to a viewer about something, that they mention in the chat, Alex is pulling up the story and bringing in the graphic. So, it sort of validates to the viewer that, you know what I mean? Like, that what they're saying is really important. And to us, that's kind of the most important thing is making our viewers really part of the show.
Yeah, bringing a viewer's comment up onto the display it's such a small thing, but it's so important when you're interacting with a live audience. And Ecamm have just made it simple. It's a simple button press. Their comments on the screen. You get to talk with them, give them immediate feedback, and the audience seems to enjoy that. We love it because it's the only reason to do this is that immediate interaction with the audience. Ecamm is just a simple way of doing it. I know your viewers of Meet the Pros like to talk about the setups that people have going on. And because of the beauty of Ecamm Live, I'm currently using the, what is it called? The virtual cam. And so everybody's seeing currently what I'm seeing. But I can also switch to what I call my close-up cam and show everybody at some point during this show all of the equipment we use to actually broadcast this, and they might be surprised because it's not much. You don't really need a lot to get started with what I consider a relatively decent production value. Ecamm is the reason that's possible. The reason you can do it with so little equipment is purely because of Ecamm. It's been great. We love it.
It's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. One thing I will say, because you spoke about Ken and Glenn, who are the owners of Ecamm, and they develop all the software, and I've worked for Ecamm for 13 years, and we've been around for 20. Like you said, we have all these other products we've made in the past, and that's one thing they've really been dedicated to, is to make software easy to use and to make it accessible to people. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, but also be very powerful and do a lot. So I'm really glad that you guys have found the value in that and really seen that.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by those two guys, Ken and Glenn. I've been going through a little troubleshooting and working with Glenn. They are remarkably conscientious. They care about the product that they put out to the end user, and they care enough that they want it to work. With previous software, I invested an awful lot of money, and it was end of life after 1 year and didn't get any more updates. Ecamm would never consider doing that to a customer. They're there I've been with them, I don't know exactly how long, but it's got to be coming up on 10 years that I've been an Ecamm customer, and they still update software that I purchased a decade ago. It's remarkable how they stand behind their products. It's remarkable to me that they took, I hope they didn't take a whole weekend, but they put together a custom version of Ecamm Live to send to me to test to try and fix an issue that we were having, which did fix the issue, by the way. But they took the time out of their weekend to do that. That's going above and beyond. That is a remarkable way to treat your customers. And that's why I recommend Ecamm products to as many people as I can. I think they're a special company. It's rare in this day and age, but they
really appreciate that. I just want to say too that Ken and Glenn work long, crazy hours, and they're also really good family guys. They both have families and kids, and they're really dedicated to them too. So dedicated to their work and dedicated to their families. Very good guys.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine they are. They strike me as very, very conscientious guys in every aspect of their lives, I'm certain. But we're really appreciative of them helping us, just like one-on-one individually helping troubleshoot a problem. I don't know that this problem was affecting anybody else, but they took time out of their lives to help us. That is remarkable.
Well, I'm sure that they're watching, and I'm sure that they really appreciate it. And if they're not watching now, they'll watch later. So one thing I wanted to, not to get away from, loving on Ken and Glenn, because they definitely deserve it, but I did want you to talk a little bit more about how you sort of went from, you said that you didn't have really any experience on sort of being on radio or video or anything like that, and then then you were on, on radio or on podcast, and then you went to the video. Like how did you deal with sort of the nerves of being on video?
Well, I'll take this first, I suppose, because it was the first few shows were just completely nerve-wracking. I'd never done anything like it before, and it showed. People could hear it, and this is why, people like Danielle and my friend Keith started calling in, because they knew I was a lot more comfortable actually interacting with somebody. So it was very nerve-wracking for me initially. You get over that, or at least I got over that very quickly, and it started to feel very natural for me. The video came out of a necessity for me being able to bring Danielle in. And the biggest hurdle there was overcoming the logistical problems with Danielle being in Minnesota, me being in Atlanta, having to be able to feed the audio not only through the mixers to the app so that it went out over the internet, but also being able to feed everything back through Google Hangouts so that Danielle could both hear the audio and everybody could hear her. So I was kind of thrown in at the deep end and had to figure a lot of this out. Luckily, it was still over at Just for Fun Radio, so Scotty was there. He has a lot of experience with the audio side of things and was able to help me work out those bugs. Then when we went solo with Politek, I was back at square one, having to figure out how are we going to do the video. I know we had to use Skype or, FaceTime, but we settled on Skype. But I also have a call-in number for live callers. So I had to figure out, how do I get callers onto the show to where they can hear Danielle in Minnesota. Danielle in Minnesota can also hear the callers, plus that audio gets put through to whatever switching software we're using. That took some doing. I ended up using some software from Rogue Amoeba, which was great. Also filled a lot of gaps. There was just a lot of technical hurdles to overcome. Right. So when Ecamm came out, I could stop messing with the audio and video in Wirecast and the complicated setups I had to deal with there. Ecamm took care of Skype for me immediately. Then I just had to focus on the phone audio with Danielle and callers, and it really simplified things immensely. It was great.
So then a lot of those nerves just sort of went away automatically.
I think we didn't have time to be nervous. We were so busy thinking about, I think we were more nervous about, are the phone lines going to work? Is this going to work? We didn't have time to, I don't think I was ever nervous about being on video like that. And for one thing, I mean, we were just sitting there talking to each other.
That's true.
The fact that it was like just a conversation. We had no idea if anybody was going to be watching. There were times that there was nobody watching. So it was literally just us Skyping on the interwebs. In public. But yeah, I mean, we were so concerned about other things working that, there just was no time to be nervous about if we looked like idiots.
We always look like idiots. We're never going to worry about that.
Right, yeah.
I think that's really good advice in some way. Just sort of don't worry about it and go forward. Because we do have people, I don't have as many customers or any potential users saying this as much, in the Facebook groups or sending us emails about it. But when we do meet people in person, like at conferences or whatever, they do say that their biggest hurdle is feeling comfortable being live and not getting kind of caught up. And so, but I think that just don't worry about it is a great piece of advice. So I appreciate it. I think
if people just keep on doing it,
right,
I think you'll get over those initial nerves. You get over them very quickly. It's not like you're actually face to face with an audience, although we do take our show on the road. We will go to locations. We, we love to have guests in on Skype, but there's nothing like being face to face with a person. And we've had some pretty big guests. We've had senators, we've had congressmen, we've had we've had people from the shooting sports world and things like that. One of my favorite things to do is actually pack up all my gear, take it to a bar, set up all the lights and cameras, and actually bring people in live. And when you're dealing with a politician, obviously they're used to speaking publicly, but there are some people who do get really nervous doing this just on camera. So if they come in as a Skype guest, they'll be a bit more nervous than they are if you're with them face to face. So anyone starting out that's nervous, I guess my first recommendation would be get somebody in the studio with you. Have somebody on camera with you to help you work through those initial nerves for those first few shows. And after that, I think you'll be golden. I think you'll be great. It's just something you get used to. You pick it up, get used to it, and just run with the ball.
I agree. For me, even on Skype, if I have the face of, like, y'all's faces are right behind my camera, so I feel like I'm talking to you, even though I'm, thousands of miles away from you, I can see your faces and I can see you reacting to what I'm saying. So if I can't see someone's face, I do feel more awkward, more uneasy. Someone actually reached out to me and asked me, they were going to start podcasting, and were completely nervous and said, what do I do? I said, try to have somebody, like Alex said, try to have somebody there with you. How to have somebody to talk to, even if they're not on camera with you. If you have somebody to interact with, it makes it better. And then, like Alex said, you just get used to it. I mean, I could talk to a doorknob now, but
that's right. Now, I will say this. I still have a very difficult time doing a show solo by myself. Still very difficult. There are some people who are experts at it. Kevin Colby, who's one of Ecamm Live's customers, he does all of his shows solo, and he's remarkably good, way better than I could ever hope to be. So it's still important for me to have that co-host via Skype with Danielle, or somebody sitting with me face to face. That really makes it easier from my perspective. But then there are other people out there who can just, like Kevin, for example, can just talk and talk and talk and run a really good show by themselves.
And Alex, it's funny that you say that, because I don't know if you remember this, but the shows, when our friend Keith would call in, you guys would interact. But when I would call in on your shows, I knew nothing about what you were talking about. I would just sit there on the phone and say, and, probably make the occasional inane comment, but I literally could not interact on content at all. And it helped you immensely just to have another human being there breathing.
That's right. It made a world of difference just having somebody else there for me.
I think that's awesome. I think that's a great tip. I know you guys say you aren't pros, but I think you are.
Thank you.
I did want to ask another question. So when we were first connecting, you had mentioned that, you guys sort of do this as a hobby. And a lot of people we have on here are either coming on for their business or for some sort of marketing or something like that. But you guys really do this for a fun hobby. Correct me if I'm wrong. But talk to us a little bit about that and about how you sort of approach it a little bit more differently than you might if it was like a business.
I don't know. I don't know how a business would approach it, so I'm not sure what the differences would be between the way we do it and the way they do it. But I do know we do this for fun. We started up over at Just for Fun, decided, hey, we want to keep this going. We enjoy getting on camera with each other and talking. We love that our friends tune in, and people that we don't know, we have people from all over the world that tune into the show. It still amazes me that they want to listen, but they do, and we love them for it. But we've never had the pressure. When we were with Just for Fun, we did have sponsors. Since we've been with on our own with Politek, we've never had the pressure of having to be careful about the things we say. We've never had the pressure of having to make ends meet. How are we going to pay the rent or bills this week? We've just been able to focus purely on the content and have fun doing the show. And the technology is just a means to an end. It's just thankfully it's easy now, but it really was just the means to an end of being able to get together a couple of times a week, talk and have fun.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about viewers, which we have. We are so thankful that we have viewers, but because that means our friends are coming to hang out with us, we do on Sunday. This is so nerdy. I'm an absolute book nerd. You can see, like, these are actual books behind me. This isn't a green screen. I am a book nerd. And on Sunday afternoons, we have a book group and we get together and we read a book together and we talk about books. And like the nerdiest thing in the world, but I don't care because I love books. So, and it started off with me and one other person reading a book. And now we've probably got a dozen people that show up with us and talk about books on Sunday.
We have viewers that will go out and purchase the book so that they can be part of the Sunday book club. It's remarkable. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Really, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Danielle.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think this is really wonderful because I think that, even if you want to do lives, not for your company or your business or for, to market yourself or, I know we do have some places that are actually using it in their churches so that people who aren't able to come out to church, they can, see the church service. But I just think it's really great for us to have some people on here who are using it for fun and for hobby and to make community and make connections. And it's really great to know that you guys have not only had some success with it in a way, even though you're not aiming for success. I think that's a good point too, is to have fun, focus on the content and not worry too much about the engagement because the engagement will come.
Right.
And so I think that's really wonderful. And I appreciate you mentioning that, when you initially talked about it. I think it's a very, unique thing about you guys is that's you're here for fun. And we love that.
And I think one thing I think that Ecamm has brought to our party is that I can't even speak specifically to what software it was because Alex does all of that, but there were softwares that Alex was so sort of encumbered with doing the switching and doing the technical stuff that he was taken out of the content, that he wasn't able to interact as much. And now he doesn't have to worry about that. So we're able to spend a lot more time, goofing with each other and talking with each other and with our viewers. So it's a lot more fun and a lot more engaging, I think, now than it ever has been. And not that we've gotten better, it's that our technology has gotten better. That it's gotten easier.
I'd like to hear that.
Again, the technology is just a means to an end for us. I had two criteria starting out. I wanted good video and good audio. And I used whatever technology was available at the time to achieve that. Again, Ecamm continue to advance that with I was using Camera Live to bring in a DSLR. Ecamm now have native support for Canon DSLRs, so that really helped. I can switch and show you real quick what we use if you'd like. It's actually a very simple setup. So let me jump over to what I call the close-up cam. This is the central hub, a MacBook Pro. It's 2015 quad core, so it's not even the newest one. That runs obviously this display and this display over here. Then I have a small Mac Mini over here, which runs this display. This Mac Mini I'm able to bring into Ecamm that's very blurry, I apologize. The Mac Mini I'm able to bring into Ecamm as an NDI source over the network, which is fantastic. Both the computers are controlled by this single keyboard and trackpad using a piece of software called Synergy, which is a virtual KVM. It allows me to control this machine and this machine with one keyboard and mouse. I will monitor things on an iPad, and then, of course, the Stream Deck for switching our scenes. I can just switch back when I need to. Again, now the current, I'm running the latest beta right now of Ecamm Live, which has native support for the Stream Deck built in. Again, it's made it simple because I have a couple of shows I do, Politek, and then a local news show called This Week in Rockdale. And inside of Ecamm Live, I have my scene set up. I have a folder for Politek scenes and a folder for This Week in Rockdale scenes. And prior to the built-in support for the Stream Deck, they were controlled by keyboard shortcuts, Command 1 through Command 9. So I would have to drag a folder to the top level of the folder hierarchy in Ecamm Live to have the shortcuts assigned to This Week in Rockdale, and vice versa for Politek. But with the native support now for Stream Deck, I don't need to do that. I can map scenes to buttons and not have to worry about dragging any folders, not have to worry about folder hierarchy. Again, it just simplified the production. One less thing for me to worry about. Now I can just, by touch, I can feel the button I need, press it, and focus on the content and interacting with the audience, which is the key to all of this.
Right.
That's awesome. Thank you for telling people about that, because that's a really cool feature we're going to have soon. And we do have our Ecamm Live beta group on Facebook. So if you have been an Ecamm Live user and you're a current subscriber, or you have a license and you want to join that group and become a beta tester, we love, especially if you have a Stream Deck and you want to give it a try. So definitely check out that group.
Well, I would say any of the group, the Ecamm user community group, is a fantastic resource for people to use. Everybody in there is helpful. Everybody in there is willing to answer questions and try to help you troubleshoot issues. And I highly recommend joining that group if you're an Ecamm, well, whether you are or not an Ecamm user. I recommend going into the community group. It's a great resource for people.
I agree. It's a great group. And I think that the other thing that really helps us out with is that there's so many ways you could use Ecamm Live. There are so many features. There are so many aspects to it. And everyone's using different devices to connect. And so the more people are able to communicate there and share what they do and help us out, it's really even better than what we could offer in some ways, because we don't have every single setup available to us that all of our users do. So we love that community and we appreciate it. And so definitely join that community too. I think we're up to like 1,500 members of that group. So it's going really strong.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
A great place. I noticed in the chat somebody's mentioning the background blur, and I think they're talking about on my camera. So I'm using a green screen. I'm using a green screen over here, and I'm using the my Politek background as my background. And Ecamm Live has an option to blur that background, which I actually prefer. I like for this to be in focus for some reason. I like to blur out the background, but that's a feature in Ecamm. I think some people were speculating I was using the blur background function of Skype, but no, I don't use that. I use the feature that's built into Ecamm Live. I think we actually use pretty much every feature of Ecamm Live that it has available to it. DSLR support, green screens, all the audio functions we're using. I'm even using the virtual camera output. If you haven't dug through the menus, dig through the menus. There's a lot in there. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely. There's always more features to explore, and we're always looking at ways at sharing all the different ways that we can our users can use all the features. So you've done such a good job explaining all the features that you use and how you use them. So we really appreciate that. Is there anything else about Ecamm or about your setup that you want to share with us?
No, I think we've covered everything.
It sounds like it really seems like you did, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't not giving you enough time.
I think the key takeaway for me with Ecamm was just ease of use. It took all my time that I was devoting to pre-production and slashed it down to the bare minimum. And it's merely because of the thought that was put into the design of Ecamm Live. Obviously the guys said to themselves, how can we make this simple? And just being able to bring in a Skype call with no configuration whatsoever was a huge time saver. Right. Being able to bring in NDI sources with no configuration whatsoever is a massive time saver. I couldn't be happier, to be honest with you. It's after making the switch to Ecamm Live, I don't see us going anywhere else, because I haven't seen anything even close to as simple and as powerful enter the market. So, that's all I can say.
Thank you so much.
Really,
And
Danielle,
it always works. It just seems like it always works. It's dependable.
It is.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
So it gives us time to be nervous about other things.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. So before we sign off, I do want to have you go over again when your shows are and how people can find you and all that stuff. So
Sure.
Wherever you'd like to start.
Sure. Go ahead, Dan.
Alex, we are Politek is on Monday and Thursday nights at and we do Central and Eastern because we are in both, but we'll just do, and I can't convert. So 8:00 Central, 9:00 Eastern on Monday and Thursday nights.
Okay.
Alex does This Week at Rockdale Sunday nights at 7:00 Central, 8:00 Eastern.
Right.
And then we have our book nerds. Our book group is 4:00 Central, 5:00 Eastern on Sunday afternoons. And if you just go to Politek, all of those are linked from Politek. We share everything from Politek.
And we'll link everything as well in the comments. People can find it there as well.
Yeah, wonderful. And it's politekShow@gmail.com if anybody wants to send us questions, comments, or just yell at us.
Yeah. Or
that
call
happens
in.
every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Call in. Yeah, we love phone calls.
Yeah, we have the number on the screen whenever we're live, and we take phone calls live, which I love to do. Danielle isn't as thrilled about live.
I get a little squeegeer about phone calls.
As I am, because you never know what you're going to get.
Hey, our friend Tommy Sailors has joined us too. Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy. You never know what you're going to get with live callers, but I love that. I don't want to call it danger or risk.
The off the cuff, the on the fly reactions. I don't
enjoy it.
But you guys do great. It's awesome. It's
Thank you.
Live is fun for that reason.
It is.
So let's just give a quick shout out to Richard Taylor, Cindy Hall Banks. Thank you for commenting. Charlotte Gellert, John Clark Blackwell. Thank you guys so much for joining us and leaving a comment. We really appreciate it. And again, if you want to be part of the series, please, send us a message on Facebook or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. To Danielle and Alex, thank you so much for being on here. We'd love to have you on again in the future, catch up with you, see what's new and going on with you. So we'd love to have you back. You guys have been wonderful, and we so appreciate you being part of the Ecamm Life community and just being awesome people. And yeah, thank you so much for being here, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Bye, guys.